Hello and welcome to Maya class number 3. As always, I have Maya 2023 opened, and we can see here some other Maya files like the previous lesson, the Rocket Save 1 and Rocket Save 2. For this class, we're gonna create a new one, a new scene, and we're immediately, as always, gonna create a project. Go to project window, create new, and name it as the car. We're gonna make a car in this lesson. I'm gonna make it car and press accept. It is always located in the PC Documents Maya Projects folder. We have car folder. Inside, we're gonna open up the source images, and in the source images, I'm gonna add my reference. Close this. Open up Maya again, and just like in the previous lesson, I'm going to create a free image plane and insert the image or our reference. Today we're going to learn some new tools that will help us a lot with modeling, some options to isolate some stuff, and we'll see how this car ends up looking in the end. So the first thing we're going to do is move or adjust the reference a little bit to the back. I want this to be my front view. So I'm going to adjust it like this, something like this, and continue adjusting it from over here. Okay, I think this is pretty good. Maybe a little bit to the right. There we go. Okay, I'm going to make a duplicate of it and rotate it for 90 degrees holding the J key. This will be my side. Now, unlike other references like the previous one, where we had the rocket and it was symmetrical on all sides, this one is not. So the center doesn't really matter where it is. We'll go about it and see it later on. So what does matter is that I don't move this reference up and down because it aligns perfectly with the front reference. Our car is facing the right way, so that's good. You can see the lights going towards us, and these are also coming towards us as well. And now let's move and make the top reference as well. Rotate it 90 degrees downwards, check it. Push it down a bit, and from the top view I can see that my lights are in the front right here. That is the back, and I'm gonna rotate it like this. We can't do much for the top. Maybe it'll do it a little bit like this, but we cannot really tell where it is here. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna start modeling from one view. This time I'm gonna use the side view. And as I make the basic shape, I will adjust the references later on. So I don't move them, I select them all. In the channel box, I create a new layer and lock the layer, so I cannot select them again. This car will be created from a simple cube. So shift right click and create a cube. First things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale it up to white stance like that. Try to adjust it as much as I can, something like this. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to move it the mesh a lot, but that's okay in this case because it's not symmetrical. I'm gonna try and guess that it's somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna turn on X-ray mode, put it somewhere in the middle, check if maybe I have part of the reference like here, or I can use it as an example to where to end. I'm gonna adjust the front. I'm gonna try and adjust it with this part right here. Okay, maybe a little further. I'm gonna move it up to check it's good. Control Z to go back. And adjust the ending as well. Right there. Perfect. Okay, so instead of always just extruding and doing stuff, we can use a new tool that we're going to learn today. Let me just adjust this part here to this one and this one here. Okay, The new tool is called multicut. It is very useful, so please try to remember it. The way you can find multicut is if we go to the object mode, we can find the multicut here and just click on it and it is activated. Or we can hold shift right click and go to the left. We have multicut here as well. What does multicut do? It allows us to add vertices to edges, and then we can cut a face wherever we want. Just keep in mind, we have to end on an edge, whether it's this one or here. This one here doesn't matter. When we are done with the cut, we can just press right click and we have new edges in between. Now I'm gonna go back and show you the power of multicut as well. I'm gonna quickly press shift right click and move to the left. That is the fastest way to select multicut, like this. Hold shift and right click to the left. If I hold control, I can add a loop. So let's see this. If I hold shift, I can add a loop. So that's what it goes. In order to have a loop, we have to have faces with 4 edges, and they have to be one after another. So for example, this edge, the multicut cannot go to this one. It goes always to the one opposite of it, the one where it ends as well. So I'm gonna go to the side, multicut, and add a couple of things here. What am I gonna add? It's always very smart to think about your topology and where you're gonna add stuff. For example, if I need to add something here to hold this part to make a hole here, and I have to add something here so that this edge can be supported as well. So I'm gonna hold control. If I press left click, it's gonna add a multi-cut loop wherever I have it hold. But if I hold control, you can see here on the top there's a number. Those are percentages. The percentages are used to determine what percentage is from this edge to this edge. So if I want to add it somewhere exactly in the center, I don't have to like try and do this with hand. So what I can do is just hold left control and middle mouse button click, and immediately gonna add a whole loop in the middle of those 50%. Let's keep that in mind as well. I'll go back a little bit. Since I've added this here, I can use the vertices to select them and move them. Keep in mind there's a vertex in the end, so we can't click this. If I move it, the vertex at the end doesn't move. So I have to select it like this, multiple vertices. And I move it here, and I'm going to use V to snap to this vertex because it's straight here. So I'm just going to hold V and snap here. This one as well. It is well snapped to this one because it didn't move. So I'm just going to adjust it with one of the axes. Okay, I'm going to go to the front. If I add shift multi-cut edge loop here, it's going to be a little hard to make the hole once I move this here, because look at the edge, it goes through the hole. So what I'm going to do is add a multi-cut here, which means that this vertex is well placed. Maybe I can move them a little bit to the left, and these vertices will end up here. Why does this help us? Because right now, if I add multi-cuts here, I don't have to move these vertices here. Therefore, I keep this line perfectly straight as it is. If I, for example, made this pull back and made another multi-cut here and here and here, right? So I can adjust these as well. I can then adjust this, but then I have to adjust these as well and try to keep that line as straight as I can. But if I think a little bit ahead of time, I can just adjust this, and the rest is much easier, because whenever I add a loop, these vertices on top are not gonna be touched at all. Okay, so this one is a little bit to the left. This one is up here. I'm gonna snap this one to this one here and move it to the side. Let's see, these could go a little bit to the left as well. That's the first hole for the wheels. Let's see the other ones. I'm gonna add a multi-cut here and 2 more here. Because we don't have to keep any edges here, I just do them by hand. Move this. This is good. Snap this to this and then move it by only one axis, and this one also by one. And I can see there these are almost broken, so I'm gonna move this one here and keep that in mind as well. I'm gonna move this one to this edge and this one to the one above. Or I can add them to the windows. So if I do this here and snap this to this one, it can also be here. If I want to move them lower, I can just select both of them and move them a little bit. Okay, then I can add one more multicut to this one here and adjust this one here too. It's much easier to just snap it with V. Okay, the upper ones can be done with an extrude. So now I can just, before I do that, I can just look at the references and try to adjust the car to the reference as well. Just gonna scale it this way. That's good enough. And check it from the top side as well. The reference seems good here as well, except for the front. I'm gonna adjust the X-ray, unlock my reference, and push it down. I'm never gonna be 100% certain because this part is covered by that, so I'm gonna look up at this edge. All right. Let's see, the top is good, the front seems okay as well, and the side is good since we were using it this whole time. I'm gonna lock the references again. This time I'm gonna move to face mode, and I'm gonna select these faces that are up above, and then deselect these because I don't need them. I can extrude up with while holding shift and adjust them one by one. Put this one here. Try this one here. This one's good enough to snap here. This one also snapped to the window. And this one to the top. All right. So what's good here is I already have this face here for the window for extruding it later. I just have to create one for this one as well. So I'm just gonna multi-cut, cut here. Why here? Because this edge, this vertex is already placed, saving me a little bit of time. Change to vertex mode and slide it to the left. All right, now I have this window and this window created as well. Now all I need is just this part up here. Okay, I think this would be even a little bit easier if I move these faces up with snap them with V up above, and then for creating the windows I can just multi-cut one more time sideways this time. So it is much easier this way, right? Adjust one. So what we can do with the rest of these, instead of selecting all of them one by one and then snapping them to this vertex here to align them, I can just select all of them and do what is called flattening. So I can just flatten these vertices using the scale to the minus side. So if I do this, they're perfectly aligned in one straight line, and then I can just snap all of them to this vertex. Now I know they're all in one same line. Adjust it here and adjust it here, and this one to this side. All right, so that is the basic shape of the car. We already have good topology for the windows, extruding them. We can then add for the front window as well as the back one. And we'll move on to other parts. So I'm gonna select these 4 faces, or the windows should I call them, and then extrude them inwards, but because I want them to extrude for the same amount from both sides. So I'm not gonna do it with the move tool, I'm gonna do it with the scale tool. So I'm gonna hold shift while scaling them a little bit, right? And there we have the faces here and the windows here and here as well. For the front one, I'm gonna go to the front view, turn on X-ray, and just gonna add 2 multicuts, one on this side and one on this side. Okay, I'm gonna select the front and the back, and I'm just going to extrude. But before that, I can see that there's a little bit more here. So I can just add another edge like this while holding Control and left mouse clicking right here. Right, now select this and extrude them inwards while holding shift with scale tool. All right, we have all the windows created and we have the base shape of the car. Next up, let's do the wheels. Okay, the simplest way to do the wheels is with a cylinder. I'm gonna hide the grid just so it doesn't confuse me a little bit. I'm gonna select nothing, shift right click, cylinder. We can't see it, but it's here because the middle of the screen is here. So to X-ray, there it is. Just gonna move it out to one side, turn off X-ray, and try to adjust the cylinder to where the tire should be. Okay, that's the side view. Let's see the front view. It's a little bit to the side. Move it back. Try to scale it down a little bit and adjust it neatly. All right, looks cool, looks good. Let's duplicate it and move it to the back side. That was almost perfect. There we go. So here we have the 2 wheels or 2 tires. We can quickly add them to the other side now, but we'll do it later while I show you another tool that Maya uses that's very useful. Why don't we do the handles now and the side blinkers? I'm gonna go to the side, we're gonna create them from simple cubes, adjust it, try to adjust the size first from one side, in this case the side, and then we'll move on to the front. Once it's good, I'm gonna change to the front and adjust it. This is too much, so I'm just gonna scale it a little bit. It's very good for it to be a little bit inside, so it can blend with the car. And we'll do the same for the back handle as well. Hold shift to duplicate. All right, there we go. For the blinkers, I can, instead of doing work twice, I can just use the handle, right? It's the same shape, so why not just use it? Just gonna scale it down, adjust the size, and it's perfect. Duplicate it to the back. To have it a little easier, I'm gonna turn on wireframe on shaded. And there we go. What else do we have? We have the front side, the little details that we have on the front, like the wireframe shaded as well here. We can add the lights here, some front details like the grille and some other front lights. These lights can be made from the same cubes as before. All right, so I'm gonna put them here. This way I'm gonna scale them, make them very much smaller than previously, and check the front a little bit like this, a little higher, and scale it up. All right, I think this is good. And let's use the tires for the cylinders that we're gonna use for the lights. Perfect from the front. Let's just check the side. Here. You can see I keep pressing F to focus. All right, so let's make the front bumper now. Let's make the one with the where the tire is. Sorry, where the light is. Again, I'm gonna use this one, a simple cube, to duplicate it and try to match it here. Right, scale it up. Vertices, I'm gonna use this way of creating things just to show you. So I can just use the vertices to get the right side of the shape, and the left side of the shape I can snap with X to the middle. Why do I do this? We're gonna see in just a second. Let me just finish creating this side part as well with multicut. Add one here, select this face, and we're gonna extrude it to the back. Right? And now we have this shape right here. Okay, like I said in the beginning, we were only creating stuff for one side of the car. The other side has almost nothing. I'm gonna create one more or two more details, and then we're gonna move on. Okay, create this one here. Scale it up, move it to the side, and the left vertices go to the center with holding X. All right, one more duplicate. That would be, oh, but before that, let me just check the positioning of this. I think it's good. And this one goes here. I'm just gonna change to vertex mode and move it to the side. Perfect. See it in three-dimensional view. All right, looks good. Okay, and the left vertices in the center. Okay, what else is left in the car? Let's see the reference. We have this is done, everything is done except the back bumper. I'm gonna use again a very simple shape. Use this one so I don't have to move a lot. Go to the side, start with the side this time. Right, once I adjust one side, then I can move the lower vertices. Okay, then I'm gonna multi-cut somewhere here. And because we don't have a back view, we're just gonna use this face, and move it. And from the front, I'm gonna snap it to the center. Okay, so why did we make the whole car half, except for this part? So this part was easy because it was almost all symmetrical. But the other parts, I didn't want to make two of them. Why? Because I can just mirror these parts on the other side. The mirror option is on, let's start with the tires first. If I hold shift right click, there is the mirror option right here. If we click on one of these squares, this opens up the menu for that tool that we're going to use for each one of these. For example, the mirror tool, this little cube, it opens up the mirror options. Okay, I'm gonna reset these real quick just so they're basic. So what do we usually check when we mirror stuff? We can mirror depending on the axis position. So we can mirror using the world or the object that we're using, or the bounding box. What is the bounding box? The bounding box is the end of the object. This time we're going to use world, and we want to mirror along the x-axis, because as we can see here, we have the x-axis and the positive is created, so we want to mirror to the negative. This is the mirror direction. It chooses where we go, positive or negative, and the mirror axis x, y, or z. So if I just press apply here, it's gonna mirror it to the other side, which is perfect. Another very useful tool is instead of always doing this, shift right click mirror, because it already has those settings that we changed that we can also change here. We can just press the G button. The G button is basically repeating the same tool as previously. So if I want to mirror this and I I just used mirror like so. If I want to mirror something else, I click it and then press G on my keyboard, and then click on another thing, click G, it does the tool that it was last used. See, I'm gonna click here and then G again, and it's just gonna appear on the other side. These two, I'm gonna click together, press G, and mirror it to the other side, as well as the back bumper and the back blinker lights. And just like that, we have our car. You keep seeing me having some problems with the references like this. What we can do is, if we want to see something and only that one thing, what is very useful is the Control 1 option, or we can click this one here. It is isolate select. So whatever we select, we're going to isolate it. I'm going to press Control 1 right now. What it does is it hides everything else, and you can only see the things that you have selected. For example, right now we can only see the car and the whole car, and references won't bother me at all. If I want to get the references back, I just press Control 1 again, and they're back. The last thing that is left here is to just add the colors. So, like we remember last time, what's very important, it's very important to name your meshes in the outliner. For example, this is going to be the body of the car. We have the front bumper. Alright, so I think it's a little bit too extended and I cannot see the lights. Just realized that. Yes, it is. I'm gonna choose the vertices and pull it back. There we go. There's one light, and I'm just gonna mirror this to the other side. These are the lights. Keep in mind that when you are creating something with mirror, it doesn't create a different object, but it just mirrors the same object on the other side. And that is basically the same object. It's not like a group. So these are lower lights. An underscore to make it easier for readability. We're going to name this the grill. What else do we have? We have another part. I'm gonna name it grill body. These will be the front underscore blinkers. I'm gonna copy this name so it's faster. I'm gonna change this to back blinkers. And for the tires, I'm not gonna do them both separately like front and back tires. I can just Control G them in a group and call them tires or wheels. That's your choice. These two, we can do the same for all of them and call them handles. Oh, what's left? This is left. What is this? This is the back bumper. Back bumper. See, a lot of this would have been a lot easier for me if I just had them named earlier. So what I should have done is when I created it and made it look good, I should have just immediately called it, named it in the outliner. And in the end, when I have everything named, I can just select the whole car, Control G, and call it car. Or you know, I can name it the way the car is named, and that is Datsun. When I create a group, it automatically drops inside and deletes these groups. These two are not needed, so I can just group up these again. That's why that happened, because I selected everything. I'm gonna go back and show you why. That's because I selected everything and grouped it. That way I don't select the groups. If I select everything in the outliner and group it, we can see that the groups stay inside as well. That's a way better way to do it. Datsun car. And last but not least, let's just color the car. Let's start with the body. Assign favorite material Lambert. So here we see that there are a lot of these things that can be moved with these buttons or with the scroll wheel, and we can just scroll to the end to get to Lambert 2. But instead of doing that, what do we do? Let's save the scene. So Maya has a lot of problems with crashing because of history. It remembers the history. That's why we can go back with Control Z and go forward as well. So let's just delete the history because we don't want it to crash or, you know, and ruin our project in the middle. And also, while deleting the history, it deletes most of these tweaks or moves. All of these tweaks and splits, they're the adding of the multicut and then adding of extruding and stuff like that. So best way to do it is edit, delete all by type, history. We delete everything. The history is good now, and Maya is less likely to crash. Keep in mind, it can still happen, but it's less likely. Also, we only have 3 parts here, and the Lambert is much easier to pick. I'm gonna create the car color for the car and click it here. Keep in mind, it does the windows as well. To change the windows, I'm gonna change to face. So this is how we color stuff, single faces, right? So we select all the faces that we want, in this case the windows, right click, assign favorite material. A new material that we're going to learn today is Fong and Fong E. They're very similar, but they're different from Lambert and Blinn because they're more reflective. Like Lambert is least reflective, Blinn is more reflective, and Fong is one of the most reflective. I'm going to change the color as well and see that the reflectiveness level is much higher than Fong. All right, let's color everything else as well. The tires, get a new Lambert with color black. I don't have to select it here since I know it's black. I can just click here. The lights and the other lights and the blinkers are all the same color, so I'm going to select them. Assign favorite material Lambert, click it, color picker, and click on the color. The grill is a little darker gray, so I'm gonna make a new one here. Right click, Lambert, and the color I'll change this view so I can pick it easier. The bumpers along with the back one as well have another color, so a new Lambert picker, click on it, and I see that the handles have the same color as the grill here. That way, sorry. I'm gonna use an existing material and find the Lambert, but because it's easier, it's hard because I didn't name it. I'm just gonna click on this and change the Lambert name to dark gray. All right, and now when I add the color, it's gonna be much easier because it's named. Okay, gonna do the same with these, just name them real quick. Light gray, it's gonna be orange, and the Fong is right here. It's gonna be light blue. Have the tires, which are black, and the lights are yellow. Okay, that is basically it. I can see that the orange is a little darker, so what I can do is just adjust this slider to make it darker or lighter. I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter, adjust it so that it matches the reference a little bit better. Okay, that is for this class. What did we learn today? A quick little summary. We remembered how to create a project. We didn't save. That's a big problem. We're gonna save right here, right now, real quick. I'm gonna call it car and press save as. We created references. We noticed that we couldn't adjust them from the beginning, so we created one part and then adjusted the references to the basic shape of the model. We learned what multicut is and the functions of multicut, and it's very important to remember. We learned how to isolate stuff with Control 1 or this here button, isolate select. We learned how to mirror, which is also very important.